Hi, greetings. My name is Yogenthiran Krishnan, and I, together with my friends Husni, Sas, and Tanush, have collectively come together to present about histopathological techniques for our subject, histology techniques. Moving on with the presentation, I would like to start off with the very first step of histopathological techniques, which is known as specimen logging, or in other words, also known as collecting specimens among histopathological researchers. Methods of specimen logging stems from labeling of specimen. Initially, this can be done when checking the request form for the following details such as the patient's name, date of birth, gender, address, and any other information related to the patient's medical record, locations such as the ward, clinic, emergency room. Not only that, this can also be progressed by checking the specimen container for the following details such as the specimen of the container which is properly filled and the patient's name and record number. Not only that, checking is also a very crucial part of specimen logging. This is mainly because it involves the getting the patient's detail in the request form is matched with those written in specimen container. The specimen which is fixed in 10% buffered formalin and the patient's detail is transferred to the computer database, daybook or lodger. The detail of specimen is then recorded and the unique case is assigned once it is matched. So that would be all from me for specimen logging. Thank you. Next up would be the method of dissection for the fixation of the sample organs for creating the histological slides. Initially, we always use latex or similar gloves when handling the rat and safety goggles when required to protect the eye from chemical splattering or any other harmful debris. Place the rat in a dissecting tray and examine the external features. When that is done, then you can continue to move on to perform cervical dislocation to euthanize the mice. Once this is done, we can continue to remove the skin of the rat to expose the muscles and the epithelial foldings of the rat. Lift the skin and snip away from the muscles by using scissors and forceps where either of these can be used. Cut through the abdominal wall of the mice. Once this has been done, the body cavity you will need to rinse in the sink. Hence, remove the target organ by cutting the attachment to it. Rinse the organ in the zinc with saline and submerge it in the formalin in a universal bottle.
Okay, so we move to the third step, which is tissue processing. So dehydration, clearing, and infiltration are the three consecutive procedures that make up the tissue processing technique, which is used to prepare fixed tissues for embedding in a sporting media like paraffin. The majority of clinical and research setting employ an automated tissue processor, either with or without microwave aid to process tissue. So as you can see in the picture, that is the specimen being inserted into a saline solution. Okay, this is after dehydration process, which is this is a clearing process. So let's move to the next slide. So the as you can see, the first picture shows the specimen has been inserted into the cassette. This is before we started doing the tissue processing. Before we dehydrate the specimen, we have to put the specimen into the cassette. So the second picture, which is the middle one, is the specimen after inserted into 100% alcohol solution. So this one is before we put the specimen into saline solution. This is the last part of the hydration process before we move to the clearing process. So the last picture. So as you can see, the specimen is being infiltrated in paraffin wax. So this is the infiltrate process, which is the specimen is being inserted into the paraffin wax for 1 hour, 1 hour and overnight. So we move to the next part. which is embedding process. So embedding is also known as the final stage of tissue processing. This process is carried out on an embedding center, which is embedding machine, using stainless steel cassette mold. The plastic label cassette also incorporated into the finished block. The easier embedding media that can be used is paraffin. So cakes of paraffins are placed in clean metal and have to be melted down in paraffin oven for 2 to 3 hours. Then we can pour melted paraffin over the tissue specimen. As you can see in the picture, my group members is pouring the melted paraffin into the mold, which is the specimen has been inserted there. So that's all from me. I pass it to my friend. Thank you.
Ashmita, I'll be presenting on the fifth step under the histological techniques, which are sectioning using microtome, fishing, and also lumping. Sectioning is the process of cutting the paraffin embedded specimen into precise thickness. It is done using microtome. As you can see on the left-hand corner of the picture, we have used rotary microtome in the sectioning process. Next, fishing is done in the floating bath using a glass slide at 60 degrees from under the water. Later, mounting process is done by heating the specimen slides on the stretch table. The sixth step of histological techniques are staining and cover slip DPX mounting. Staining process is done using xylene, different percentage of alcohol, hematoxylin and eosine, which are the stainings. Time is accurately calculated when the slides are placed in each chemical. After the staining process, DPX mountain is used to mount the specimen on the glass slide and covered with the cover slip. That's all from me. Now I'll pass to my next one.
Hello everyone, I'm Thanusdevan and I'll be presenting on slide viewing. So, what is microscope slide viewing? It is the process that comes after mounting the slide on the microscope. The mounted sample is then observed and studied by using a light microscope. Adjust the stage controls to view the different parts of the cells, and also the observations are recorded in 40 times magnifications of the kidney cell of the mice. There are 4 types of artifacts found in our sections. One of it is the sections that disintegrate on the water bath. This could happen if the water temperature is too high, and which has a tendency to cause the wax to melt. When this happens, so does the part of the section disappears. Next is shattering or crack sections, which is a result of over dehydration, which then causes too much of the moisture to be removed from the block during processing. This can be avoided by reducing the time of duration in alcohol to prevent it from dehydration. Next, we will be looking in overstained sections. Overstained sections are caused by staining for the tissue for too long. Next are scratch line that appears in the sections. Small dents in the knife edge will cause this knife to not be sharp, and also it could do some hard materials that are embedded in the wax itself to cause the lines to appear while sectioning. So for slide labeling in the microscope, we usually label our slide so that it can effectively identify and track our samples through the process and storage. And we also have permanent ink and ultrafine tip, which is ideal for labeling microscope slides. Next, as for recording data and reporting, we have compiled all of our processes that we have stated from the specimen logging until the recording of the data and compiled it into one report by using recorded videos, pictures, and pictures of other ways. That's all from us. Thank you.